A man lies in a blood-slick alley, fists raining down on him. The gang screams, "Who are you really?" One member loads his pistol. Another pulls off the man's mask, revealing a wire underneath. Their brother isn't one of them. He's FBI. And someone inside just gave him up. Pain blurred Eli Navarro's vision as fists cracked against his ribs. Rain poured down, mixing with blood on the concrete. Around him, the gang shouted, their voices echoing off the alley walls, but he wasn't listening anymore. All he heard was the sound of his heartbeat and the dull click of a gun being cocked. This wasn't part of the plan. 2 months earlier, the assignment had seemed simple, on paper. Go deep undercover. Infiltrate Los Muertos Locos, one of South Central LA's most dangerous street gangs. Get close to their leader. Collect evidence. Stay alive. The Bureau called it Operation Black Halo. Eli called it suicide. You don't get second chances once you're in, warned his handler, Special Agent Darren Cole. You bleed with them. You run with them. Or they'll smell the badge on you from a mile away. Eli nodded. He knew the game. He'd done 3 stints undercover before, drug runners in Arizona, chop shops in Nevada, but this was different. Los Muertos weren't just criminals. They were soldiers. Trained, connected, and paranoid. One misstep, one wrong word, and they'd bury him in a nameless grave behind an auto body shop. He took on the name Ghost. No past. No home. Just a quiet reputation built on a few staged street fights and favors from embedded FBI contacts. Word spread fast in the streets. The new guy didn't flinch. Took punches like a brick wall. Never talked too much. Never asked questions. Perfect for a gang that trusted silence more than loyalty. Eli's entry came through a backdoor hustle, a stolen car drop gone wrong. He stepped in, backed up one of their lieutenants during a parking lot brawl, and never backed down. That earned him a meeting with the boss himself. Victor Fangs Ramirez was everything the file said. 6'4", neck inked with skulls, eyes dead as glass. He ran Los Muertos like a paramilitary unit, tight formations, brutal training, no tolerance for weakness. But he liked Ghost. You don't scare easy, Fang said one night as they watched the city from a rooftop. I respect that. Weak men die fast out here. From that moment, Eli was in. The next weeks blurred into chaos. Late-night drug runs, stolen weapon shipments, intimidation jobs. Eli wore the mask well. But each message he sent back to the Bureau grew shorter, colder. There were no clean arrests. No backup. Only blood, silence, and survival. One night, everything cracked. A cocaine exchange near the LA River. The buyer's car rolled up late. Tension thick. Just as the deal began, a shot rang out. One of the gang's own, Chico, barely 20, collapsed, a bullet through his neck. Panic exploded. The buyer's car sped off. Guns were drawn. And someone yelled what no one wanted to say. Someone tipped them off. Eli froze. Fangs grabbed him by the collar, yanked him back behind a shipping crate. That deal was locked down, Ghost. No one knew about it. I didn't say a word, Eli replied, cold, controlled. He couldn't show fear. Fangs didn't blink. Then how the hell did they know our time and location? That night, the gang didn't go home. They circled the alley, blood on their hands, rage in their eyes. A storm was coming. Eli sat alone in the back seat of a stolen Charger, sweat dripping down his back, pistol tucked under his hoodie. His burner phone buzzed once. Message from Cole, extraction not safe. Keep cover. Someone inside may be leaking, inside the gang or the Bureau. Either way, Eli was now truly alone, and someone had just started hunting the mole. The warehouse smelled like oil, sweat, and steel. Eli stood beside a stripped-down 47 on the table, pretending to study its weight. But his eyes stayed on Victor Ramirez. Fangs paced like a wolf, his boots echoing against the concrete floor. The gang's inner circle stood silent, waiting. No one smiled. The night before had changed everything. Somebody knew, Fangs muttered. Somebody gave our time and location to the cops. Chico's dead because of it. Eli didn't flinch. He kept his breathing steady, like he had in interrogation rooms years ago. Now he was behind enemy lines, no backup, and the walls were tightening. We clean our own, said Fangs, turning slowly. His eyes scanned the room, landing on each man like crosshairs. You all took oaths. And I don't care who your cousin is or who vouched for you. Anyone who's not with us is against us. They dragged in two men, young recruits from a lower crew. Both looked terrified. Fangs handed a Glock to one of the older lieutenants. Let's see who cracks first. Eli didn't look away. He knew this moment was meant to scare the real mole. But he also knew neither of these kids had the brains or position to leak anything important. This was theater, and blood would spill for the sake of it. One of the boys started to cry. Before anything else happened, Eli stepped forward. Let me do it. The room froze. Fangs stared, lips twitching like a smirk was trying to break through. You want to test them, Eli said calmly. Let me be the one. For a moment, silence. Then Fangs grinned. Now that's loyalty. He handed over the Glock. Cold metal. Full mag. Eli walked toward the boys. One of them looked him dead in the eye, like he expected death. But Eli had no plan to kill anyone. He fired a shot into the ceiling. The noise shattered the silence, and one of the boys screamed. The other wet himself. Eli turned, tossed the gun back to Fangs. They're not the leak, he said. They don't even know what we carry, much less when or where. Fangs looked at him, then slowly nodded. Ghosts got instincts. Let them go. The boys were dragged away. Fangs clapped Eli's shoulder hard. You just earned yourself a seat at the next run. That run turned out to be an arms transfer from an abandoned rail yard south of Compton. When the crates opened, Eli saw military-grade weapons, M4S, body armor, even a shoulder-fired rocket tube. This wasn't local stuff. This was cartel-level supply. He slipped his burner phone into his jacket pocket, fingers tapping out a coded message in the van. Cartel hardware confirmed. High risk. Possible corrupt channel. But that message never sent. Later that night, in the back of the same van, his phone buzzed. Not from the FBI. Unknown number. One sentence. You're not the only one undercover. Eli stared at the screen. His heart slowed. Someone else was playing the same game, but from the other side, he barely had time to think. The next night, a new rule hit the crew. Fangs announced everyone would be verified, their loyalty tested. Not polygraphs. Street tests. The kind that left no room for lies. And Ghost would be first. They blindfolded him and drove him miles from the city. He kept track by the turns. So, then west. Then silence. The car stopped. They pulled him out, shoved him forward. When the blindfold came off, he stood under flickering lights. Around him, 6 armed men. One held a baseball bat. Another carried jumper cables. You're going to answer one question, said Fangs. If we don't like how you answer, we're going to peel the truth off your skin. Eli didn't speak. Fangs knelt in front of him, quiet. That raid wasn't random. Somebody inside set us up. If it wasn't you, Ghost, then who the hell was it? Eli said nothing. The jumper cable sparked behind him, and someone behind Fangs whispered, just loud enough for Eli to hear. He's not the one. But I know who is. The van doors slammed behind him. Eli sat in silence, the side of his face still bleeding from where the jumper cables grazed him. His head pounded. Not from the pain, but from what he'd heard. That whisper. He's not the one. But I know who is. Someone inside the crew knew something. Someone else was hiding a secret. Maybe another federal. Maybe a traitor. But whoever it was, they just saved his life and made things infinitely more dangerous. Fangs hadn't taken it well. He'd cut the interrogation short, muttered something about tightening the net, and ordered everyone to lay low for 48 hours. But there was no hiding from paranoia now. It was everywhere, in glances, in silence, in the twitch of fingers near triggers. Eli sat in his corner room in the gang's safe house above a pawn shop on Crenshaw. He pulled out his encrypted phone. Still no reply from the FBI. His last message had gone dead. Either they couldn't reach him, or they didn't want to. That night, the power flickered. It wasn't the first time. But when it did, a red dot appeared across the alley wall, laser sight. Just for a second. Eli hit the floor. Seconds later, the window shattered from a distant gunshot. A bullet embedded itself into the drywall above his bed. Clean shot. No warning. He rolled, pistol drawn, and crawled toward the back hallway. Sirens echoed somewhere far off, but no footsteps followed. Whoever had taken that shot wasn't there to storm in. They just wanted to send a message. You're being watched. The next day, Fang summoned everyone to a warehouse near the docks. No drugs, no deals, just one thing. A meeting. No one spoke on the way there. Inside the warehouse, Fang stood over a table stacked with files, real ones. Surveillance photos, phone logs, addresses. And in the center of the table, a single object, a tiny black audio recorder. Found it under one of our trucks, he said. Battery dead, but not from the streets. This is government. Tension turned physical. Everyone's hands hovered near weapons. Eli stayed quiet, calculating. Whoever planted that device wasn't sloppy. They wanted it to be found. This crew is rotting, Fangs continued. So from now on, trust is earned every single hour. He turned to Eli. Ghost, you're riding with me. We've got a job tonight. Silent, Ron. Just me and you. Eli felt the shift. Fangs wasn't testing him anymore. He was watching. That night, they drove alone in a beat-up Charger, heading toward the city outskirts. Fangs didn't say much. Just stared ahead, his jaw locked tight. They pulled up to a salvage yard. Nothing but metal and moonlight. Fangs cut the engine. There's a ledger hidden here, he said. One of our guys used it to track shipments, contacts, cartel transfers. He vanished 2 months ago. I think the Fed got to him. They stepped through rusted doors, their boots crunching gravel. Inside, stacks of crushed cars and engine blocks towered like monuments. Fangs led the way with a flashlight. Eli followed. 15 minutes in, Eli found it. Buried inside the frame of an old SUV was a leather-bound ledger wrapped in plastic. He handed it over. Fangs flipped through pages, eyes narrowing. Names, he said. Dates. Drop points. Even law enforcement payoffs. You know what this means? Eli nodded. But inside, he felt the pulse of opportunity. This ledger could take down half the crew and their cartel partners. Maybe even expose the mole inside the bureau. Then Fangs spoke again, calm but colder. I think you already knew this was here. Eli's breath slowed. I think you knew exactly where to find it. He stepped back slowly, keeping his hands open. I didn't. Fangs raised the flashlight and clicked it off. Darkness swallowed them both. That's the problem, Ghost, he said from the shadows. You always know too much. Before Eli could answer, headlights flooded the salvage yard. Another car. Doors slamming. Voices shouting. And a gunshot tore through the night. The echo of the gunshot bounced off the twisted steel and rusted scrap piles like thunder. Eli dropped behind a stack of engine blocks as more shots followed. Fast, uncoordinated, close range. Not a hit team. This was personal. He peeked between the gaps. Fangs had vanished. The second car's headlights were still on, casting long, violent shadows. 2 gang members. Eli recognized one as Cruz, one of Fang's trusted enforcers, had their pistols drawn and were yelling into the dark. We know it's you, Cruz shouted. Come out now or we light this place up. Eli stayed low, gun in hand. He wasn't the target of this ambush. Someone had used him and Fangs as bait. But why? Who pulled the trigger? Who knew they'd both be here? A scream rang out. Cruz dropped to his knees, blood pouring from his thigh. The other man turned and fired wildly toward the catwalks above. Then silence. Eli heard a whisper in his earpiece. Static. Then a broken voice. Navarro, are you still in? It was Cole. Eli ducked behind cover, clicking his mic. I'm here. You finally picking up. Your last message came through broken. We just intercepted chatter from a cartel comm line. Someone selling intel. Might be inside the bureau. Yeah, no kidding, Eli hissed. I've been hung out to dry for a week. Cole's voice turned serious. You need to get out. Tonight. We've got a team an hour out. Your cover's compromised. Eli watched as Cruz's body was dragged behind a car by someone he couldn't see. Then Fangs emerged from the shadows. He was limping, bleeding from the shoulder. But his pistol was up, and it was pointed at Eli. Thought you'd run, he said quietly. I stayed. Wrong choice. Eli raised his hand slowly. I didn't fire that shot. Didn't have to, Fangs replied. You led me here. And now two of my crew are dying in a place you conveniently suggested. I followed your lead, Eli said. I came here with you. Fang stepped closer. Funny thing, Ghost. You're always the last man standing. Shootouts, deals gone bad, police raids, and somehow you're untouched. Eli didn't respond. Fangs didn't lower the gun. I wanted to believe you. I did. But someone keeps tipping the feds. And if it's not you, then prove it. Footsteps approached fast from the salvage yard entrance. Another gang car screeched to a stop. 5 more men piled out, guns raised. They circled Eli like vultures. One had brass knuckles. Another had a crowbar. You know what this is? Fangs said. This is the alley trial. They dragged Eli into the yard's open center, threw him to the ground. A circle formed. Weapons out. Voices muttering. Everyone here gets a vote, Fangs shouted. He talks or he bleeds. One man raised his hand. He talks. Another shook his head. He bleeds. It kept going. 4 votes for interrogation. 3 for execution. Fangs looked at Eli. Majority wins. They lifted him to his knees. One of the younger gang members, barely older than 19, held a crowbar and approached. Eli locked eyes with him. I know your name's not Loco. The boy froze. I know your brother's doing 10 years in Ironwood. You're here because Fangs promised he'd make it go away. The gang turned toward the boy. Eli continued, voice steady. Help me. I get your brother out. I get you out. The boy lowered the crowbar slightly. How do I know you're not lying? Eli didn't blink. Because I'm not Ghost. I'm Agent Eli Navarro. FBI. Gasps broke out. Guns raised. Fangs stepped back stunned. In that instant, the boy swung the crowbar, not at Eli, but at the man standing behind him. A fight exploded. Eli rolled away, kicking a pistol from the ground and catching it mid-motion. He fired into the air, forcing hesitation. Then the sound of approaching sirens ripped through the alley like a warning bell. Someone shouted, "Cops!" Gang members scattered. Fangs turned to run, but stopped. He stared at Eli with something between rage and respect. You're dead, Federal. You just don't know when. Then he vanished into the shadows. Eli leaned against the wall, breath shallow, body aching, blood dripping from his mouth. But he was alive, and the Bureau was finally coming. Red and blue lights spilled into the alley like fire. Doors slammed. Boots hit pavement. Eli staggered forward, one arm raised, the other clutching his side. Blood soaked through his hoodie, but he stayed upright. FBI agents flooded the scene, weapons drawn. Among them, Cole. He rushed forward, grabbed Eli by the shoulder, and steadied him. You're alive, Cole said, shocked. Barely, Eli muttered. Fangs got away. He knows everything. Not for long, Cole replied. We traced a call during the fight. They're regrouping at a stash house near the river. We move now. Eli didn't hesitate. He waved off the medic. Let me finish it. 30 minutes later, they rolled out in a convoy. Unmarked FBI SUVs. Lights off, silencers loaded. The warehouse near the river looked empty from the outside. But inside, heat signatures told a different story. 8 men. One of them was Fangs. Eli moved with the breach team. No vest. No FBI jacket. Just a pistol and the same hoodie soaked in his own blood. He didn't want the crew to see a badge. He wanted them to see Ghost, walking back into hell. They kicked the side door open and stormed in. Chaos exploded. Flashbangs burst. Gunfire cracked off metal walls. Shouts filled air. One by one, gang members went down, some surrendering, some not. Eli moved fast, clearing corners, stepping over broken crates and shell casings. He found Fangs in the back office. The gang leader stood by a metal desk, pistol in hand, a duffel bag at his feet. He turned when he saw Eli, eyes cold, jaw tight. You don't quit, do you? Eli raised his gun. You're done. Fangs shook his head slowly. No. You think this ends here? The streets never run out of soldiers. Another me shows up tomorrow. And another after that. I'm not after soldiers, Eli said. I want the architects. The men who think they're untouchable. Like you. Fangs raised his gun. Eli fired first. The bullet slammed into Fang's shoulder, spinning him against the wall. His pistol clattered to the ground. He groaned, bleeding, but alive. Eli moved in, gun still raised. Fangs looked up at him. "So what now, Fed? You gonna kill me?" "No," Eli replied. "You're going to talk. You're going to tell us who's been feeding you intel from inside my agency." Fangs chuckled through the pain. "You really think I'm scared of the Bureau?" "No," Eli said. "You should be scared of being forgotten. Dying in a cell while the world keeps moving." Sirens grew louder outside as backup arrived. Eli cuffed him and dragged him out. By morning, the operation was over. Dozens arrested. Weapons seized. Stolen vehicles recovered. The ledger Eli found gave the Bureau everything it needed to dismantle Los Muertos Locos and trace their supply lines back to the cartel. But the mole inside the FBI, that was different. Eli sat in a federal office downtown, staring through a glass wall. Across from him sat an older man in a suit, Agent Beckman, Senior Intelligence Coordinator. Clean record. 2 decades of service. And now a suspect. Cole stood nearby, silent. Eli slid a photo across the table. Beckman's face was pale. "You met Fangs twice," Eli said. "6 months ago. You gave him that warehouse. You thought nobody would connect it." Beckman didn't answer. His eyes lowered. A quiet man, finally exposed. They took him away in handcuffs. Later that night, Eli stood alone in a downtown parking structure. He pulled the ghost ID card from his jacket, weathered, cracked, and soaked in sweat. He stared at it, then set it on fire with a lighter. The flames ate through it in seconds. Eli didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just watched it burn, then walked to the edge of the rooftop. LA stretched out before him, alive, humming, broken, beautiful. He was done being Ghost, but he wasn't done fighting. Not yet.